Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome back to Women's Touch Month. Yeah, this is a big one. This is one of the biggest films of 2024, even though not financially, but the biggest films that came out in 2024 in the first half of the year. This is a 2024 post-apocalyptic action movie. Yeah, I finally saw it on Max tonight. Directed and produced by George Miller. Yeah, the only director that's done all these films. Who wrote the screenplay with Nico Latoris. It's the fifth film in the Miller's Mad Max franchise and the first not to focus on the series protagonist Max Rokitansky. Of course it's not, because Mel Gibson was done after the third one. Instead, acting as both a spin-off to prequel to Fury Road and an origin story for Furiosa. Portrayed by Anna Taylor-Joy, yeah, in the second half of the movie, but I'll get to that. And Alila Brown in the prequel. It's set 15 to 20 years before the events of Fury Road. The film follows the titular character's life for over a decade, from her kidnapping by the forces of warlord Dementis, Chris Hemsworth, I'll get to him, to her ascension to the rank of Imperator. Tom Burke also stars as Praetorian Jack, a military commander who befriends Furiosa. Several Fury Road cast members return to supporting roles, including John Howard, Nathan Jones, and Angus Sampson reprising their roles. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Yep, this was good, guys. This was really good. Not my favorite of the year. It's going to be in my top 10, but it's not my favorite. I still think Doom Part 2 is a better film, even though that's insanely long. But this is a good one. This is not the best in the franchise, but it's a good prequel. It is. It's really well... It's well shot. The action sequences are phenomenal, especially the truck scenes. The two truck scenes in the middle of the film and in the third act are phenomenal. The stunt work, the action, the cinematography, the dedication of the actors. You know, it looked real. It didn't look like it was. It's not a CGI cartoon, guys. There's some CG in it that's bad, but I'll get to that. The movie cost $168 to $233 million. I think the budget was too high. I think they could have lowered the budget a little bit. The first Mad Max only cost about $400,000 in 1979, the same year Alien came out. You don't need a massive budget to tell a good story. This movie was living proof of it. You could have shortened the running time and made the movie an hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours even. But we'll get to that. And they were going to film this back-to-back with Fury Road, but the former spent several years in developmental hell. Of course it did, because, the actors from Fury Road didn't want to come back. One of them died in 2020. May he rest in peace. The guy that played Morton Joe in that movie. He's replaced here, but I didn't notice the difference. The film received acclaim by critics, but it became a box office bomb. You released it in May, 3 months after Doom Part 2. People are already tired of the desert. But I will say this. It's a better movie than this. This is what freaking Furiosa should have been like. You have a female character I care about. She has a huge backstory. It's mostly her as a kid. The first hour of the movie, Anna Taylor-Joy is nowhere to be found. So don't even look for her in the first 5 minutes. It's her as a little girl, running from, her captors and all that. And, getting to be the badass that she is. This character had 3 movies and we hated her in all 3 of them. And she's ugly and she's not a good actress and she can't do shit. And has powers that come out of nowhere. Here, Furiosa gets injured, is vulnerable, even as a little girl. The little girl is very cute and a good actress. And no accent, because in the beginning she's played by an Australian. And then Anna Taylor-Joy is not Australian, so she has no accent. I get why. But it's a better movie than that. It's not up your own ass. It's not doing fan service every 2 minutes from the other films. It's got its own identity. It's not, copying what the original did or Fury Road. Chris Hemsworth is a much better villain than freaking Kylo Ren, because he's Dementis. He's absolutely charming. He's over the top. He has this big nose, which it looks ridiculous, but again, it fits the tone of the movie. And Hemsworth is acting his ass off. If he gets an Oscar nomination for this, he deserves it. If Ryan Gosling can get one for Barbie, why not him? The film looks fantastic. Like I said, some of the shots in the movie are Oscar worthy. Definitely this and Doom Part 2. But Doom Part 2 was a better movie because, again, people cared more about the story. And also, it's longer only because it's a sequel. But this movie was a little bit too long. You could have trimmed the first hour of the movie My thing is give Furiosa her little intro, 20 minutes, and you get to Anna Taylor-Joy by the 30 or 40-minute mark. An hour is too long to wait for your lead character to grow up, guys. Even in The Lion King, it didn't take that long for Simba to become a child to an adult. It didn't take an hour. It took about maybe 45 minutes, maybe, depending on how you spin it. But here, it feels like they're taking their sweet-ass time in the beginning. And I'm like, it's well shot, and the action's great, and Chris Hemsworth is carrying the movie. Him and the little girl have to carry the first hour of the movie, because Anna Taylor-Joy doesn't come into the movie until an hour and 1 minute. I clocked it. An hour and 1 minute in a 2 hour and 18-minute movie. Yeah. Some of the CG I thought was bad. Not the effects of anything that they used for the background was fine. In the sky, some of the digital blood and whatever, that didn't bother me. Some of the flames that when the guys are on fire, that looks fake. It was like, wow, this looks worse than the Human Torch. I was like, oh, that's it. That's the only bad effect of the movie. But I could see why this movie flopped. It didn't deserve to flop because it's good. It's well made. It's just a little bit too long. Audiences don't want to sit in the theater and watch a 2.5 hour snooze fest in the desert like this was. I hate that movie for what it did, because that movie got billions of dollars and it didn't deserve it. This movie at least deserved $500 million, at the very least. But it was just bad timing. The film's box office performance has been deemed a failure. Critics and film pundits noted that the franchise's limited appeal in general and prequels in particular contributed to poor box office. That's bullshit, because the Phantom Menace made a lot of money. It's just the movie was too long, and also it was after the year with the writer's strike, with all these bad box office bombs that were over 2 hours long. Blue Beetle, Indiana Jones, and Mission Impossible. These films failed because they were too long, and also because we had seen sequels done better. It needed to gross $350 million to turn a profit, and it would end up losing 75 and $95 million for the studio and its co-founder. However, Warner Brothers spokesman claimed that the film had a lower break-even point, as much half of the film's budget was covered by the NSW and Australian federal government. Yeah, again, it's not filmed in the US. It's filmed in Australia with mostly an Australian cast, except for Furiosa herself, the adult version. Because Charlize Theron wasn't Australian in Fury Road. And the movie could have done better. They released it the same month as Garfield. It was 3 months after Doom Part 2, 2 months before the dominance of Deadpool and Wolverine. And that movie, man, you can't say this movie bombed because it's R-rated. Deadpool and Wolverine is the highest grossing R-rated movie of all freaking time, guys. For a reason. It is better than this movie, and only because I had more fun in the theater. I wanted to see this in the theater, but they wouldn't let me, because I went the day after Memorial Day. The theater was empty. The lights were out. Some of the posters were not well lit. The movie had a delay, so I couldn't even see the movie on time. So I was like, screw it, I'll wait till streaming, and it was worth it. It's a beautiful film to watch on your TV. It's not a movie you're going to lose the experience watching it at home. Weak in light of what film consultant David Aykroyd calls outstanding reviews and good audience score, the opening weekend was not entirely unexpected. And also, following Furiosa's disappointing second weekend, an anonymous studio executive told a reporter that it's mind-numbing that Furiosa hasn't grossed $50 million domestically. Well, again, you released it at a bad time. Maybe if this came out 2 years after Fury Road, or 5 years, it would have done better. But releasing it during the pandemic, when people were spent on movies that are overly long, and prequels and sequels and remakes and reboots and all this, they get tired of it. That's why a lot of remakes and reboots didn't do well last year. Or in 2022. According to Gross, moviegoing thrives on momentum and rhythm. One strong movie after another bring fans to the multiplex once or more per month. Right now the schedule was thin. Yeah, and there was no Marvel movie or DC movie in May. Despite being a female-fronted action film, Furiosa opened weekend skewed towards heavily male. Yeah, because the franchise is mostly male-heavy. Look at the first Mad Max. Look at Road Warrior. Beyond Thunderdome. The female characters are not really dominant until Fury Road came out. And I'm like, yeah. And also it's a very small, Yeah, they said they praised Hemsworth and Taylor Joy's performances. Yeah, but they questioned whether Furiosa commanded the same kind of brand recognition as traditional IP. No, she doesn't. She's not really a. She's not a Elsa. She's not a freaking Ellen Ripley. She's not a whatchamacallit, who's another female character that's strong. She's not even a Katniss Everdeen. It's not the actress's fault. It's just that she's not as mainstream because kids don't pretend to be her because she's an R-rated character. That's gonna lower your appeal for little girls pretending to be Furiosa. You know, they dress up as the hobo all the time, and it sickens my stomach. Elsa, they dress up as her. They dress up as Ripley. Some people in adults dress up as Ripley at Comic-Con or whatever. They cosplay as her. And the thing is, the movie is a little bit too long. If it was shorter, it would have done a little bit better. And the movie's budget was a little bit smaller. Not Asylum budget. Hear me. Something like Ghostbusters Afterlife. That didn't cost $100 to $200 million, and that movie did well. And I think it's a good movie. I think this is a movie that's going to be definitely more rewatchable as the years go by. It's going to get a cult following, just like the Marvels, and just like a lot of movies that flopped that didn't do well. I would have said this would have worked better as a TV miniseries, or, like I said, a movie, but with a smaller budget and with a much smaller budget and a smaller running time. And I'm grateful that we got this movie. And, I'm glad that the people that did see it in the theater, I'm glad they did. I should have been one of those people, but hey, there's always next time, right? Thankfully, the movie is worth your time. If you have Max, go see it right now. You don't have an excuse not to see it. It is long. The first hour is mostly about Furiosa as a kid. Good young actress that's got a promising future. She's going to be in Sonic 3 later this year, if it comes out. And she'll be fine. But Furiosa, you need, like I said, George Miller thought that with a $200 million budget that fans are going to flock to the theater. No, because it was too little too late. He waited too long. It's like if Cameron waits another 10 years to do an Avatar sequel. No, people's interest will wane. You got to remember that that audiences are very selective now with what they want to see in the theater. And this wasn't on the menu. Not even in the top 10 of the year. It's sad because it's well made. Because you have all this garbage films like Tarot that made money at the box office. And the Mean Girls remake. And these Disney remakes that come out. And freaking Star Wars films that haven't been good since the prequels. And even with The Acolyte. I'd rather watch this than The Acolyte. Because at least it's not, women rule this movie world. No, they don't. Sorry to say, but they can't even rule the box office anymore. Sorry, it's not a sexist thing. It's just that there's movies with women that flop and there's movies with men that flop. It's as simple as that. If audiences are not interested, they won't go. I did, and then I couldn't even get to see the freaking movie. But it's okay. On streaming, I got to see it, and it's worth it. The performances are really good. There's not one bad actor in this movie. In Fury Road, there's several actors I'm not a fan of. Just saying. Miller does still has it. It's just that lower scale. You don't need to have a $200 million budget. They're never going to give him a budget this big again. That's sad because he's 80 years old, and giving him a budget this late in his career is it's kind of too little too late. But we will remember this movie, unlike Force Awakens, which next year is going to be 10 years old. I wish it never happened. This, I wish came out sooner. But hey, we can't always get what we want. But I was entertained throughout the 2 hours and 18 minutes. I was never bored. Just could have been a little bit shorter. Some of the CG fixed. And like I said, the budget could have been a little bit smaller. $100 million would have been fine. Or $90 million. You don't need everything to be CG in the background and CGI flames. Because the original Mad Max cost nothing, practically nothing. And it made a lot of money back in the 70s. And it's a good movie. So watch it for yourself and tell me what you think. So thanks for watching. Acknowledge me. And see Furiosa on Max. Support movies like this because we might not get another one like this again. So, see you in the next one.